Sorry, you meant a couple of minutes. What did we get? Did you do this self-reflection stuff? Yeah. Yo. Yo. What's that? Jumping off the waterfall? Yeah. So hot. Ouch. Okay. Okay. Hey, let's get started. Lee's not here, so I'm going to record the class just in case she wants to watch it and catch up. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so yesterday we started looking at variables, right? And how you know, we kind of did an activity where we used the baggie to represent variables, so you could actually see what you're putting in the baggie, and if you take something out of the baggie and put something else in, it's kind of like a hands-on illustration of a variable. Okay, so we learned the code to declare a variable, to create variables with the word var, and then we learned how to kind of work with that, use expressions to add, subtract, multiply, delete, those kind of things. Okay. So today, if you want to, we're going to go to code.org. We're going to investigate. So kind of take a look at these apps and see how they work, what they're doing. And each app, each level of the app will kind of add some more complexity. Okay, so go ahead, log in to code.org, lesson 2, level 1. Okay, and that's a simple thermostat app that you might have seen in the other. There was a fancier version in the other lesson. Okay. So you're clicking run, seeing what happens, try clicking different things on the screen. So as you do that, what information do you think is being stored? It's the number, yeah, number that you're clicking. You can break it if you click high enough. How do I know that? Well, you know, we have other students. Okay. So go to level 2, and in level 2 you can see the code. So go ahead and read that code and make sure you understand what it's saying. Okay, so Josiah, as you read that, I'm going to have you, can you kind of look at that. Take some time to look at it, but lines 1 through 12, what is happening in there? And then Riley, maybe can you tell us what's happening in lines 14 to 21? Yeah, yeah, that's just a review. Okay. Okay, I'll show that. I'll show you that in a sec. Okay. Okay. So Josiah, what's happening in, like, read us line 1 through 12. Tell us what's happening. Okay. What's happening in lines 2 and 3? Okay. All right. Good. Good. Okay, Riley. So what do you see in 14 to 21? Okay. So 7 to 12 is which is up or down, and 16 to 21 is what, up or down? Not rocket science, right? Okay. So okay. So here in the bottom, so Lucas asked about a watcher. So in the bottom right corner, you've got watchers. So how you use that is you just come over to that area there. I'll pull this up. So if you type in the name of a variable like temp and click the plus button, it's going to start to watch that variable, and it'll tell you what the value of that variable is. So we have two variables in this program. So I've added both of them to the watchers. And so when I run the program, then I can get what that's kind of doing. So how is that helpful? So as you guys build programs, you guys will create all kinds of variables, and the watcher, you might expect your program to, like, every time you click the button, you're going to expect like the numbers increasing or something's happening. If you have an error in your code somewhere, this watcher might say undefined, or it might say NaN, which means not a number. Like you're trying to put you're trying to do some math on something that is a string, right? So it's not a number. So if if we were all perfect, we wouldn't need watchers. But because we all make errors when we code, a watcher will just help you troubleshoot and say, oh wait, okay, I'm doing something, but my variable's not changing. So then you can kind of go into the debugging process and kind of help that out. Okay. Okay, so I think I have a slide for that, but you just saw us do that. So, okay. Jump up to level 3 and see what's changed. Then in the code, find the math.round command, and then just think about, or you can talk to the person next to you. How do you think that command is working? On a side note, is Maria not here today? Oh, so she's what, in the founder's hall? Okay. Yeah, so that's what you're trying to figure out. What do you think it's doing? So looking at the input you're giving with temperatures and looking at the output on the screen. Okay, so so what's your guess on Drew? What's your guess on what the math.round command is doing? Okay, okay. So you can actually delete it. So why don't you just try that in the code, delete that command, and then stop the program, run it again, and see what changed. I need to go to the next level. Okay. Okay, so that's actually harder than I made it sound. So if you look at the screen, so I only want to delete the math.round command. I want to leave this part here. So if I just delete that and then the ending parentheses, that effectively has deleted that. So let's let me run the program. Okay. That's way too slow. Thank you. Okay. So did that do anything for me? Did I miss something? Okay. Okay. I missed the second reference to math.round. Okay. All right. So this is kind of how temperatures work, right? You've got Fahrenheit and Celsius. Okay, so Aiden, you have a inkling of what the math.round command is doing? What do you mean? What do you mean converts it? Well, that's happening now without the math.round. So if we go back, I'll just start this over. Faster, please. Okay, so what do you notice about the Celsius temperature now? Is it as accurate? Not as accurate, right? So. Okay. Can you, the other direction up here was delete the space in between the quotation marks and the letter F in line 4. How does that change what's displayed on the screen? Yeah, so on line 4, if you delete the space in front of the F, just makes them closer together, right? So you might like that, you might not. So why are we doing this? I'm, we're trying to take you through this process where you're comfortable looking at the code, you're comfortable making a few changes, right? And you're connecting what you see in the code with what's appearing on the screen. So you're creating all these variables, and then we're using the variables to display things on the screen. But then as we edit the code, you can see that it also changes things on the screen. Okay, so let's see. Go up to level 4. And this one's going to add in a login screen. Okay, so let's play around with this one for a little bit. Now I actually have to log in. Okay, so most of the app is the same. So you probably have the same variables you saw earlier, but Carl, can you maybe figure out what additional variable we might have? So we went from the login screen, right? We inputted our name or something in here. And when we click log in, we're actually seeing what we typed in there, right? So what would you call that variable if you just had to make it up? Yeah, something like that. Okay, the rest of the app kind of looks the same. Okay, if you go to level 5, you can kind of take a look at the code behind that. Okay. And so throughout this class, you're going to see this thing, and it's always going to ask you what's changed. So between level 3, you could see the code there, and then level 5, you can see the code here. It's always going to ask you like what changed, and like you might think that's kind of like a waste of time to just kind of look through that. But if you can see the differences, then you can also know the code that they use to run the next, run the thing. What code in here is now running the login screen, and what code in here is now running running the second screen. Okay, what code is running this part of the app that's different? Okay, so if you can get used to like finding what's changed, then you're going to be able to, I guess, figure out little bits of code that you can use in your own apps. Okay, so what's happening in line 40? Okay, if you scroll down, what's happening in line 40? Yeah, very good. Okay. Okay. So let me back up a step. What is the login button doing? 39 to 43. 39 to 43, the login button. Okay. So in line 40, we're storing your name. What's happening in line 41? You're doing what with your name? Displaying it, right? And so the I guess the interesting thing for me with this one is the login button is on the first screen, right? It's on the login screen. But then we're using the information we put in this screen, we're using it on the second screen, right? Because we're setting this on the second screen. So that's kind of like, we haven't really done that before. Does that make sense? So we've always like when this app was just simpler, you click a button here and it changes right on the same screen. But now our actions, our variables are spanning multiple screens. Does that make sense? So that's kind of the power of what we're getting to. And then this last line is just changing the screen to go to the second screen, right? So I just wanted to point that out because you don't have to do everything on one screen. You can collect a lot of information, like in a login screen or like a form. You can collect some information and then you can use that information throughout the app. You just have to code it. You just have to code it in there. Okay, so let's see where we are. Okay, so were you? I don't know if you did that part of the instructions, but add an exclamation point to the end of the string stored in username. So the following is displayed. Hi, Lola, exclamation mark. Okay. Again, we're just trying to connect you with editing the code and then seeing what's happening. Okay. These are going to be important for you. So we learned 2 patterns in this app. The first pattern is a counter with an event. Okay. Counter with an event. So here's the code. This is shorthand. So this line of code is actually doing 2 things. Okay. Can you tell me what 2 things that's doing? Okay, if it said that, we're setting the my var to 0. What are we doing? What are we also doing when we add that? You were trying to put it at the end of the. Oh, you want to go back? Sorry. Okay, so where in the code? Really, the question is, where in the code would we add that exclamation mark? So, where is this string being stored? What line in the code is that being stored? So, yes. Okay, so Josiah's right. It's in line 40. How would you add an exclamation mark? Okay, so I think this is easier done in text mode. So, okay, right now we're adding 2 things. We're adding hi, comma, space, and we're adding the name input. We're getting that, right? And adding that in there. How would we add an exclamation point? Okay, try it. Before or after the semicolon? Okay, try it before. The semicolon is going to be the end of that line of code. So try it before. Before the input. Okay, after the input. Okay, so when you type that in, do you get the red box like I do? It worked for you? Oh, you put in parentheses. Okay, that would be important, huh? I'm just kind of baiting you. Okay, because they're all strings, right? And so Josiah just intuitively said, "Oh, this is a string. I got to put it in quotes." Okay, so if we have that, it looks like we've added that. It's not adding it right. Okay, it looks right. Yeah, but it doesn't appear there. Okay, I don't know. Is mine gonna work? Yeah, mine kind of works. So okay. So is it a weirdcode.org error? Oh, so yeah, no. So Lucas, um, no, go out of that. Okay, there should only be one semicolon in that whole line. Yeah. So the semicolon is going to end the code. So if you put stuff after that, it's like it's not really going to know what to do with that. Okay. But what might also be interesting is you did not get an error for that, right? So code.org said, "Oh, this is good. It's good code. It just didn't do what you wanted it," right? So kind of just the process of debugging. Going to do a lot of it. Okay, so back to wherever we were. Okay, so this is doing two things, right? Just speed along. So the first thing it's doing is we're creating the variable my var, and the second thing we're doing is we're setting the value of that to 0. Okay, so that's shorthand. That's how you'll typically write a variable. You'll create it and set its value, its initial value, at the same time. Okay, so that's that. And then this is a counter, right? So counter with an event. So usually the event is a click. So on the event that I click this button, variable, the variable +1. So add 1. And you saw that the other day too. So every time you click the button, it's going to add 1. Okay. And if you want to subtract 1, it's pretty easy to modify that code. So you subtract 1 every time you click. Okay. The other pattern that we looked at is string concatenation. Okay, so you have one string, another string, not their names, and then you're going to concatenate all the strings with the plus, and you guys just did that. Okay, let me take a look at code.org for a sec. Okay. Okay, so I want you guys to look up here. So normally we're looking at instructions, and you've got everything you have to do there, right? But when you click on help and tips, this is going to be super helpful. So as you build the apps for this unit, remember, you might want to make a note that in lesson 2, level 5, help and tips, you got the counter pattern with event and the variable with string concatenation. Okay, so when you click on those, if you click on one of those, this is documentation, right? So I don't know why it's blank, but when you click on it, it should. Okay, so let me try again. Okay, so this is the documentation for this. Okay, and it just kind of, it explains exactly what we did. We would read this expression: the variable score gets the value 3. So sometimes I say we created the variable score and set its value to 3. I say things differently sometimes. And then you've got the code block, and then it explains how you use it. So this one's pretty simple, but it explains in details how this works, what you want to see on the screen, and then what your code looks like. Okay, so as you get more and more complex code, yeah, sure. That far? Okay. So you've got all of this. You can come back and reference it at any time. But okay. Answer the question. Okay. Counter pattern. Okay. Explain in your own words the process of creating and updating a variable. How does the counter pattern with event work? Okay. So your first line creates the variable, right? First line creates the variable. And then how does this work? Yeah. What? I'd probably say when you click the ID or the button. Okay. And of course, you're putting it in your own words. So however you want to phrase that, but you get the idea. Okay. So anyway, don't forget to look at these helps and tips, because as you get the code, like when you create your app, you're going to want a code to have a button increase and a button decrease. You're not going to want to memorize it or try to create it from scratch. You're going to want to just copy that, right? You just want to come here and copy what's written there. The real truth is, I would probably copy from here, because I love these things. They explain a lot, but you cannot copy it. Like you can't copy and paste it. So I would usually come here to a past app, copy this button, paste it into your app, and then change all the IDs, because the IDs are going to be different. Uh-huh. Yeah, no problem. I got to go there. Okay, technical. Can you read me the question? Okay, sorry, I have to see. I can't pull it up. Oh, wow, time flies. Lesson 1, yeah. Lesson 1, 3. Okay.
How come it's that one with that one?
Okay. So every time you go, so we create the variable, then score gets 3, score plus 1, and score is plus 4.
Yeah, so the answer is this one, not that one.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is the string. That whole string is what's in the variable. Okay. 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 Okay, and we're out of time. So I'll see you tomorrow.